Hey, hi, hello, VC and beyond. It's Pride Month. I am Bryce, here to celebrate with you guys today. Happy Pride. Happy Pride, happy Pride, happy Pride. Just stick that in there. And we're back. Today I have a playlist of Pride Month jams, so whether you are queer, an ally, or frankly, even if you aren't an ally, stick around, there's some really good music here. One last bit of housekeeping, you might be wondering, but it's almost the end of June. Well, my city actually doesn't celebrate Pride until September, so really until then we're just kind of sitting pretty watching the whole Pride thing. Ah, you hear that in the background? You might hear her throughout this video. That is String Bean. String Bean's my lizard, and she's here celebrating Pride Month too. Without further ado, let's get into the music. Up first is a true A1. A1 of this tape, A1 of this respective album, and truly a steak sauce jam. This is You Make Me Feel, and in parentheses, Mighty, Mighty Real by the unbelievably good Sylvester. Sylvester kind of came up in the late 70s as a disco act, having previously moved to San Francisco and kind of joined up with some avant-garde drag troupes as well as a touring group of musicians. He was known for rocking an incredibly flamboyant style and having a style of singing that really mimicked divas of the day. Sylvester unfortunately died due to complications from HIV/AIDS, like many an artist of their time. But what truly makes Sylvester great is that you make me feel. Moving from vintage disco to something a little more modern, this is Maylee Todd with her song Hieroglyphics. Maylee Todd is from Toronto, and she's really experimented with a lot of musical genres in only a very short discography. Everything from bossa nova to Afrobeat-inspired funk, and really a whole lot more. The double A side of this A-sided single is truly a great modern disco cut. A3 is That's the Trouble by Grace Jones. Grace Jones, I'm so sorry to say that I still have yet to finish your autobiography that you said you would never write, but you still wrote anyway? That's the Trouble is a really awesome track in that it recounts stories of attracting unwanted attention when you are living so openly queer. I don't want to get it twisted here just yet and downplay the severity of the situation that she is really describing in the song. Presenting queerness in public spaces oftentimes presents situations with strangers that have the potential to end badly. The trouble that she's describing in this track fundamentally is this moment that can go one of either way. Is this stranger going to accept me for who I am, or are they going to investigate, instigate, and provoke? By partaking in Pride, we are acknowledging those that came before us, the lessons they've learned, and the freedoms that they fought for. Having hit you with the better part of 15 minutes of disco, I wanted to kick it back to something a little more soulful. This is Jackie Shane, a Toronto soul singer. The track I've picked out for you here is New Way of Lovin'. Jackie's vocal performance on this track is absolutely fiery. Next up is something of a palate cleanser before we go really hard digging further into the playlist, and kind of capping off the disco series that we've had so far. This is Glass Candy with the track Rolling Down the Hill, and it's something of Italo disco inspired. Glass Candy are on the label Italians Do It Better, that with Johnny Jewel of Chromatics fame. And if you're at all familiar with Italians Do It Better, you would know that they have some incredible color variants of their records. This one being a very tasty, tasty black. Yes. Oh, it's honestly so funny. I went to go see Chromatics very recently up in my town. Their merch setup was absolutely unbelievable and honestly could have killed my wallet had I not practiced so much restraint. Really, the only damper on the night was, as far as I could tell, some very rowdy and misbehaved security personnel, as documented in this video that I won't play the audio of, but their conversation is absolutely ruining the front row's view of the Chromatics rendition of Bruce Springsteen's I'm on Fire. And I tell you, that rendition is absolutely heart-wrenching. So for them to disrespect the audience like that, not cool. Not cool. Next up is the track I Am Me by Diamond Rings. Diamond Rings is the pseudonym of a fella named John O'Regan. Now, he used to play in an indie rock band back in the mid-2000s called the D'Urbervilles. An ex put me onto them, and John has a really interesting baritone voice. At a point when he was seeking treatment for, I believe it was Crohn's disease, he actually decided to create some kind of garage band demos that would eventually become the first album of this Diamond Rings side project. Or in this case, I guess maybe not his side project, but his main project. Now, I almost did not wish to include this song in the playlist just because, especially in comparison to his first album, this track is maybe just a little too on the nose. It feels very big, very EDM, very cis gay club sort of vibe. But in all honesty, just the fact that he is out there and as empowered as he is really makes this track a lot of fun. And I'd be lying if I said the production wasn't very, very solid. Next, the trackist that will take us to side 2 is the filthiest person of all time. He is the one and only Divine. You think you're a man. Well, Divine, star of many a John Waters film, most infamously Pink Flamingos, has also made some really fabulous high-energy pop music. So, in this You Think You're a Man, Divine tests you. And really, if Divine doesn't think you're a man, then you probably aren't much of one. Next up is but another shot of adrenaline into this Pride playlist. Sophie is the artist, and she is a trans producer out of Scotland. On this, her single for Lemonade, we'll find on the B-side, Hard. Like many a release on the PC Music label, Hard finds balance between shimmering FM synthesis reminiscent of 2000s pop music as well as chipmunked vocals, with absolutely abrasive, clanging, and brutal electronic percussion. If you still couldn't determine who was a man based on Divine, Sophie here might be able to find out the truth. Up next, Pride goes pop once again, with Mariah Carey and her single, Emotions. Emotions is an all-time stunner of a pop song as far as I can tell. Whistle-tuned vocals and all. I like to envision that you are listening to this mixtape, maybe in the car after a long night out of dancing. And you don't want to crash too early, so you really keep that party going throughout the first half, but we've been feeling a lot of emotions here, and I think it might be time to calm down a bit. This is an absolute stunner of a ballad by Rina Sawayama, and this song, Tunnel Vision, featuring Shamir, is absolutely incredible. Now, on this track, Rina and Shamir trade verses back and forth, lamenting, finding bliss in their online relationships, only to find that their real-world relationships have fallen by the wayside. It's kind of heartbreaking and weirdly relatable given today's social climate. Here I am in my room making videos when in fact I could be outside. We all have a bit of tunnel vision, a bit of madness, a bit of notification happiness. Spinning plates, relationships, going down the drain. Emotions are too much for me. Oh, it's such a fun song to sing too. Rina Sawayama. Do not sleep on this girl. She is incredible. Oh my goodness. So if you notice my camera setup changing kind of between albums here, My phone has been overheating as we've been shooting this, so I kept having to take it off and let it cool down, and you know what? Sincere apologies. It's taken me a little bit longer to do this than I would have initially thought. We are getting relatively close to the end. Up next is Jessie Lanza with her incredible synth pop jam, Against the Wall. Jessie Lanza is yet another Canadian. She gained some notoriety having been signed to the prestigious Hyperdub record label, known for being the home of folks such as Code 9 and Burial. This album was produced by Jeremy Greenspan. He is of the group Junior Boys, another phenomenal Hamilton, Ontario-based electronic duo. Jessie and Jeremy's blend of analog electronics and synth pop vibes really have meshed well together on her studio albums so far. The hypnotic house-inspired vibes of this track will really take us to the emotional apex of our tape. Up next is the song Queens by Seattle-based, unfortunately now defunct hip-hop duo The Satisfaction. These two were signed to the Sub Pop label, and I actually had the pleasure of opening for them at a date in my town here. Both Stace and Kat were phenomenally nice individuals and had a lot of really nice things to say about my set, which I'm still so thankful for. Queens is a very, very fun disco track. The duo's blend of R&B and hip-hop is really heavily inspired by folks like Georgia Ann Muldrow, and even to the jazz rap stylings of folks like Tribe Called Quest. In the time that they were together, they produced all their own work, and in the time both during and since then, they've collaborated with folks like Shabazz Palaces. As we reach the end of the playlist, I have here what I believe to be the emotional crux of the set of tracks so far, and that is the song House by Kindness. Kindness is a project out of the UK that is inspired largely by Motown R&B funk. As far as blue-eyed soul, you can't get too much better than Kindness. He has a really adventurous and experimental flair to a lot of his music. This track, House, has an incredible series of group vocal performances with the refrain, I can't give you all that you need, but I'll give you all I can feel. The emotional urgency of this track is really potent, and I think the way that it describes longing for someone serves as a fitting sentiment to just about close off this tape, because the last song is a celebration of all things queer and love, and allows this tape to go from side A to side B, back to side A, seamlessly. And that is, of course, the legendary Love Shack by the B-52s. Party rock at its finest, the B-52s are queer icons whether they like it or not. And this, oh my goodness, check out this record. Woo! Gorgeous, gorgeous. The Love Shack is a little old place where we can get together. That concludes my Pride Month playlist. I've included links to Apple Music and Spotify below so you can listen to it yourself and let me know what you think. What would you put on your Pride playlist? Let me know in the comments down below. Until next time, my name is Bryce, and keep on keeping on.